Okay, I want to thank everybody for gathering to keep the Sabbath lesson today. The lesson is called Josiah, a true and faithful servant. Corn, you wasn't here when we went over that last time. He was tell him a little you remember about Josiah. If you remember.
I don't remember.
He was an 80-year-old king. Anybody else remember anything else about him?
He did.
Oh, go ahead.
His brothers, I mean, like, the people who came before him, they were evil.
Yeah.
And they told him that he was gonna die, and it wasn't a bad thing.
Got a good memory, man.
And they were rebuilding the temple, and they found the Torah.
Yep. All of that is correct. So we just gonna read the next chapter over. What we was reading was 2 Kings chapter 22. We actually gonna start off reading a little bit of 22 to catch Corn up to speed. So we're gonna start with the introduction. So Shalom Israel, thank you for gathering together to celebrate another weekly Sabbath. Today we will focus on the time period where King Josiah reigned over the southern kingdom of Israel. Y'all remember which one was the southern kingdom? Judah, who else?
Benjamin.
And who else? Levi. Yeah, that's the southern kingdom. During this time period, the northern kingdom already fell off, meaning they was committing sin. Judah was hanging in there a little bit, but they eventually started worshiping false idols as well. But at an early age, Josiah dedicated his life to restore Israel back to the Most High, and we should be in the same spirit. So may the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his holy word. I'm going to start off with Proverbs chapter 16. I'm looking for one verse. I forgot to add a scripture, but I'll find it. It's actually Proverbs chapter 16, verse 16. Thanks, whoever. Yeah, somebody sent the message. Everybody ready?
Let's go.
Proverbs chapter 16, verse 16. How much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather than to be chosen than silver? So how much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather than be chosen than silver? So wisdom is better. Wisdom and understanding is better than gold and silver. What does gold and silver mean?
Like wealth?
Yeah, wealth, money, things of that nature. So knowledge and understanding is better than material possession. That's worth something. So like I said, we're gonna go recap with 2 Kings chapter 21, 22. 2 Kings chapter 22. Second Kings chapter 22, verse 1. 1 1 through 2. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Jedediah, the daughter of Abadiah and Boscott. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord. And he walked in all the way of David his father, and turned not aside to the right hand or the left. So basically, he was a righteous king. We already discussed how Israel was going to war with each other to try to reign in the kingdom. So we had to the point where the kingship was getting younger and younger and shorter and shorter. And now it's just an 8-year-old ruling, but he had people around him to show him right from wrong. He wasn't an 8-year-old calling the shots for everything, so to speak. So we're going to jump down to verse 19. And this is what you said, Eugene. Verse 19. Because thine heart was tender, because Josiah was in the right spirit, he had a tender heart. You walk in front of the camera. And thou hast humbled thyself before the Lord, when thou heard what I spake against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, that they should become a desolation and a curse, and hast rent thy clothes and wept before me, I have also heard thee, said the Lord. So because remember they found the book of the Lord, they started reading the judgments for all the wrongs that we was doing, and realizing we wasn't keeping none of these laws. He tore his clothes, and he said he wept before him. So because of that, the Lord, verse 20 going to explain. Behold, therefore, I will gather thee into thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered into thy grave in peace. And thine eyes shall not see all the evil which I bring upon this place. And they brought and they brought the king word again. So because you feared the Lord, you humbled yourself, plus you're in the right spirit, trying to do the right things, the Lord wasn't going to let him be around to see the destruction of Jerusalem, of the southern kingdom. And we're going to read the actual death as well. So we're about to jump into the meat of things. We're going to start off, basically we're going to go down and read the whole chapter 23. And we're going to read precepts. We're going to stop every now and then and read precepts.
So was it destruction upon Jerusalem or just the southern kingdom?
Jerusalem is the headquarters, the Holy Land. It's like the capital of the southern kingdom. But all the inhabitants, that ain't gonna work. But all the inhabitants of the southern kingdom had to pay. It just wasn't just the city of Jerusalem. So 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 1. And the king sent and gathered unto him all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. Who the king is? Josiah. So he gathered all the elders of Judah and of Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of the Lord, and all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem went with him, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was founded in the house of the Lord. So y'all remember that in verse 22? Is recapping the same thing. You got all of, he took all of the people of Judah and all the leaders, said both small and great, all the priests, all the inhabitants, and he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which was found in the house of the Lord. They was cleaning up the temple, and they found the scriptures. And the king stood, let me see how I go forward. Get down to verse 5. And the king stood by a pillar and made a covenant before the Lord, to walk after the Lord, and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all thy heart and all thy soul. to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And the people stood to the covenant. Pretty much the same thing Moses did back in the wilderness. But he didn't have a book, for to speak. The laws was written on what for Moses? Yeah. I mean, the God. It was written on stone, but we in a different period where they said it's written in what?
In the book.
So how are we reading it in a day's time? In the book. But Moses made all the Israelites stand before him, and they said the same thing. That we will walk after the Lord and keep his commandments, remember? And said all these things we shall do. And we doing that to this day. We just ain't standing up. And I'm not making y'all stand up and say, are y'all going to do all these things in the book? But that's what you're supposed to be doing in your heart. It means in your mind. You're supposed to be reading this stuff, and whatever you reading, saying you're supposed to do this, you need to be doing that. You need to be telling the Lord, I'm going to do this. And the king commanded Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the door to bring forth out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels that were made for Baal. Who is Baal? Y'all remember?
Yeah, that's
What was he evil? Oh.
Well, they had Baal in the wilderness.
He's a false god.
He was that golden calf that was made. I clicked on Baal, it said a Phoenician deity. So they made vessels that were made unto him and for the grove. Just click on grove. It says Asherah or Astarte. That's where the word Easter comes from. Esther was named after Astarte. She was a Phoenician goddess. So they has a vessel made for Baal, a vessel made for Astarte, and all the host of heaven. And he burned them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kedron, and carried away the ashes of them unto Bethel. So he burnt all of these images and all of these vessels they made for false god worship. So under additional information, I got information on Ishtar. That's another name for, you see the word right there? Astarte. Didn't we just read that?
Easter.
Where you see that at?
Huh? It's not.
No, I thought it showed it under that. But yeah, Astarte, Esther, Easter. So Ishtar, it says, was a Mesopotamian goddess of love, beauty, sex, desire, fertility. What the Easter egg represents? Fertility. Proving that Esther, Ishtar, Easter, all that same thing. War, combat, and political power. Now, you can tell that's still being worshipped, this false god is being worshipped today in America and all these other countries. Because what do they push on TV?
Easter.
Love, not love in a righteous way. Beauty, sex, desire, fertility, sleeping around, war, combat, and political power. The East Semitic, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian, these three nations was worshiping this false god. It says in cognate of the Northwest Semitic goddess Astarte and the Armenian goddess Ishtar. Ishtar was an important deity in the Mesopotamian region from around 3500 BC, meaning 3,500 years before Christ, until its gradual decline between the 1st and 3rd centuries CE with the spread of Christianity. Ishtar's primary symbol were a lion and an 8-pointed star of Ishtar. She was also associated with the planet Venus and subsumed many important aspects of her character in her cult from the earliest Sumerian goddess Inanna. So iconography. There's something in here I wanted to go down. Yeah, in Mesopotamia, iconography, the most common symbol for Ishtar is an 8-pointed star, though the exact number of points sometimes varies. 6-pointed stars also occur frequently, but their symbol meaning associated with the planet Venus, with which Ishtar was identified. So sometimes you see an 8-pointed star, sometimes you see a 6-pointed star. Starting during this same period, the star of Ishtar was normally enclosed with a circular disc. During the later time, slaves who worked in Ishtar's temples were sometimes branded with the seal of an 8-pointed star. So they had tattoos or brands, the slaves that was working in her temple, people that worshiped them. On boundary stones and cylinder seals, the 8-pointed star is sometimes shown alongside a crescent moon. This ain't an 8-pointed star, this is a 5-pointed star, but you can see a star and a crescent moon, which was the symbol of Sin, a person named Sin, who was god of the moon, and a raised solar disk, meaning the sun, which is the symbol of Shamash, the god of the sun. So this is a picture of Ishtar with the 1, 2, 3. That's an 8-pointed star, the crescent moon, and a sun disk. It's a picture of it right here. But you can see the Nation of Islam. They got the crescent moon and a 5-pointed star. So some of their symbols that they claim is holy is just going into worshiping false deities and worshiping the things in the heavens, in the sky.
And it says it's a symbol of the
Where you see it? It's in here?
You read it.
Oh yeah. So we just clicking on these symbols. I'm gonna click on it again. Baal, who was a Phoenician deity, and for the grove, Azarah or Asate, a Phoenician god. So you just read the word grove, but if you got your Strong's Concordance, it'll give you exactly who they're talking about. So what did Josiah do? It said, in all the host of heaven, he burnt them without Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried the ashes of them into Bethel. So he burnt all those vessels and all these false gods that they were, the things that they was dedicated to them false gods. So we're gonna jump down to Deuteronomy chapter 12, 1 through 4. We're gonna see why he burnt them. Cause somebody might say, hey, he made it just got that he's just doing something on his own. So Deuteronomy chapter 12, 1 through 4. These are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land which the Lord God of thy fathers give thee to possess it. What is the land that the Lord gave our fathers to possess?
The promised land.
Where is the promised land? Jerusalem. Where was Josiah ruling?
In Jerusalem.
Jerusalem, but Israel, really, all of Israel. So he said, when you get into the promised land, which is Israel, these are the things you should do. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods. Say you shall utterly destroy them, right? and upon the high mountains, and upon the hills, and upon under every green tree. These were the places they were doing their worships at, worshiping these Phoenician goddess, Baal and Ishtar, and all of them. And ye shall overthrow their altars, and break their pillars, and burn their groves with fire. Remember, we clicked on groves. What did it say? You shall destroy it with fire. Ain't that what Josiah did? And ye shall hew down the graven images of their God. What does hew mean? Yeah, cut down, tear down all their graven images of their gods, and destroy the names of them out of that place. Ye shall not do so unto the Lord your God, but unto the place which the Lord your God shall choose out of all of your tribes to put his name there, which is Jerusalem. Even unto his habitation shall ye seek, and thither thou shalt come. So remember, he found the book of the Lord and started doing exactly what the book of the Lord said do. He was reading these verses. So we're going to continue reading 2 Kings chapter 23. I just wanted to give you the precept of why he did exactly what he did. This is showing you he was righteous. And to this day, what are we doing? Are we cutting it down? Are we burning it down? But what are we doing mentally? We exposing the false gods we grew up worship. We doing the same thing. And if you got any of these symbols in your house, a 5-pointed star, or the cross that we used to worship in, the crescent moon, if you got those symbols for worship, you should be cutting them down. You should be burning them. Things of that nature. Getting them out your house. First, you got to start with your mind, though. We got to educate you to why it's even wrong. And what did he do at first? He took all the people there and did what? But 23, y'all must have forgot.
Utterly destroyed.
Nah, he took all the people that was there, and he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant. So he first taught them what was right and what was wrong first. Then he started going into action, actually removing all this stuff. So we're going to tear down one more false idol so y'all can understand what's going on in this world.
That goes along with our lesson last week. Don't be a hypocrite and don't talk about it, be about it.
Exactly. So Josiah reigned in what period?
640 BC.
640 years before Christ came in the flesh, pretty much. So I'm just giving y'all a historical timeline. So there was this man named Sol Invictus. They say that means what?
Unconquered son.
Unconquered son, S-U-N, which was the official sun god of the later Roman Empire and of patron soldiers in 274 AD. So this same sun worship and all that was going on before Josiah. He cut it down back in the 600 years before. So now we reading back 200 and something years after Christ died. You see how things don't never change, and it's still going on today. So we just like Josiah. I mean, it's going to be a time period where people getting it right. Then it's going to be a time period where the evil taking over, and then it's another time period where we trying to get it back right again. So this is a time period when they was pushing in that sun worship again, 274 AD. The Roman Emperor Aurelian made it an official cult alongside the traditional Roman cults. Let me see. The theory dating from the 12th century that the near solstice date of December the 25th for Christmas was selected because it was the date of the Roman festival Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, birthday of the who? At the top.
Unconquered sun.
Birthday of the unconquered S-U-N. So who was the unconquered son we just read? Soul Invictus. So they didn't put who birthday with Soul Invictus?
The Lord.
Christ.
Jesus Christ. This is in history, man. I got this from what? Wikipedia, man. Meaning you can look this up yourself, verify this. This is not, this news, this information ain't hidden, man. It's right there in plain sight. You can go to any site. You can type this man's name anywhere. So his birthday was December the 25th.
Wow.
Not Christ.
And he was a false god, right?
Yeah.
A false sun god.
He was into that sun worship. So after him came this man named Constantine. So Constantine, look at the top, decreed on, we know the date, y'all, March the 7th, 321 AD, Dies Solis, the day of the sun, is what? Sunday as the Roman day of rest. So now we know what?
That's
When the Sabbath, what the Sabbath is.
today.
No, what is the meaning of Sabbath?
Oh, the day of rest.
The day of rest. Now cause y'all ain't never had that question. When did Sunday become the Sabbath day? We keep reading the seventh day is the Sabbath, the seventh day is the Sabbath. When did the first day become the Sabbath? I can't find that nowhere in the Bible because it ain't in the Bible. This man Constantine, we know the date, March the 7th, 321, made a decree that the day of the sun, Sunday, is the Roman day of rest. Well, Rome ain't nothing but a small city. Guess what? The Roman Empire, 3rd century AD. All of that you see, we think in modern day Rome, meaning one little country. Rome ran, that was considered the world back then.
At its greatest extent.
And when did he rule? In what is it?
87. 387. Oh, that's what.
So this is the 3rd century. He was the one running at their height. He made that decree at their height. Why do you say that? Why now do you understand why they call this modern day what?
Babylon.
Babylonia, Egypt, Rome. Modern day Rome. Look, all parts of Africa, Jerusalem, all this is our land. Turkey, Greece, Italy, the northern part of Africa, they ran all of it. That was all part of the Roman Empire. So this man, we know who started it, we know what date, and they got a hold on it to this day. So, let me see. Yeah, I just want to remember, we gonna expose this mentally first. Now y'all got basically a weapon to fight with. When you talk to people that's still in modern day Christianity, you can straight up tell them, I know who started it, what day. Oh, it ain't got nothing to do with the S-O-N. It got everything to do with the S-U-N. And really, it was a man that was into sun worship, but all of that go way back then because we proven it was going on in Josiah time. It was going on in Egypt time. Egypt had all those hundreds of gods, and they was worshiping the sun and all of that too. So what is the next one? I'm looking for verse 10. We're going to keep reading down. So he burned all of these things that was dedicated to the sun, to the moon, to the planets, and all the host of heaven. And he brought them out of the grove from the house of the Lord without Jerusalem unto a brook Kidron, and burnt them at the brook Kidron, and stamped it in a small powder. What do you mean stamp something in a small powder?
Ashes?
Exactly. You leaving no trace of it, because it's gonna be some nut that'll find it 100 years later, 50 years later, and do what?
Rebuild.
And start doing whatever. Worshiping it, using it for worship. Because imagine you found some artifacts and they got black people on it. You'll be like, oh, this was how people was into. You'll start getting into that foolishness. Man, he stumped that into a powder and cast a powder upon the graves of the children of the people. We're going to read up on that, see why he did that. And he broke down the houses of the Sodomites. What is a Sodomite? Grown people, y'all know Sodomite is?
The people from Sodom and Gomorrah?
No, they're
What were they doing?
Everything.
homosexuality.
Homosexuals. So he was, if you was laying down with a man, if you was a man, you was sleeping with a man, or you was a woman, you was sleeping with a woman, he broke down the houses of the Sodom. Ain't no Sodomites gonna be in this holy land. This is a holy land. This is Israel, y'all. That's how I ain't gonna say we was breaking down the houses, but in our neighborhoods in one time period, we wasn't allowing no Sodomites in our neighborhood. Because guess what's gonna happen? It'll spread. Them Sodomites gotta sleep with somebody, right? And they prey on kids. They prey on the young and innocent. Next thing you know, your child is Sodomite. So they stopped all of that. People influence other people. And that were by the house of the Lord, where the women wove hangings for the grove. So what does wove mean?
Sewing?
Yeah, they were sewing hangings for the grove. For the goddess. We read the goddess was assaulted. So what things we used to weave and hang for our false god?
Crosses?
Christmas time, what do you hang?
Ornaments.
Oh.
Ornaments.
But what do you got to weave?
The
thread that goes through it.
What is that?
The lights?
What is that? Stocking. Ain't that
yeah.
woven? You hang that up. And he brought all the priests of the cities of Judah, and he brought out all the priests of the city of Judah, and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Geba to Beersheba, and break down the high places of the gates that were hanging in of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on a man's left hand, the gate of the city. So all of these places where they were doing these false worship, he was tearing it down. He wasn't playing. He read in the Bible we shouldn't be doing it. He read that we supposed to burn that stuff down, to break it. Don't let none of it hang around. So he did that. So nevertheless, the priests of the high places came not up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, but they did eat of the unleavened bread among their brethren. So these wicked priests wasn't even coming up to they were the priests. Meaning that it was their job to come to the high places, the places of worship. But they wasn't even doing that. So they was eating among their the bread among their brethren. And he defiled Tophet, which is in the valley of the children of Hinnom, that no man might take his sons or his daughters to pass through the fire to Molech. So the valley of Hinnom, remember in that lesson where I said when we make it into the kingdom, we're gonna have to come periodically and see these people burn. Yeah. That's gonna be right there in that same place, because the wicked was taking their kids, their sons and their daughters, to pass through the fire at that place. And they were doing that to who? The M word.
Molech.
What is Molech?
oh,
Chief deity of the Ammonites. So child sacrifice, you sacrifice your child to that false god Molech. So he said he defiled Tophet, meaning he messed that up. So people can't even. This is all what Josiah was doing to make sure people couldn't sacrifice they children to to Molech no more. So as you can see, Josiah, he was a true and faithful servant. He wasn't playing, man. He wasn't just reading it. What you said the lesson was called again last week? Don't talk about it. Well,
be about it.
Be about it. So after he read that, he got straight to it. So we're going to read the precept for 2 Kings, verse 10. Let me read 10 again. And he defiled Tophet, which is in the valley of the children of Hinnom, that no man might make his son or his daughter pass through the fire of Molech. So we're going to read Isaiah 66:24. And he wasn't doing all this when he was 6 years old. He was older. The other chapter give you the exact age he was when he started getting into it. Isaiah 66:24. Excuse me. This is the verse we were saying. This is going to be when we get into the kingdom. And thou shalt go forth and look upon the carcasses. What is carcasses? Dead bodies of the men that have transgressed against me. So for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched. And there shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. So we're going to be watching them suffer in that same place they was doing all that animal sacrifice. Said that worms that's all over them, they ain't going to never leave them. And the fire that's burning them shall never be quenched.
Do you mind clicking on according?
A repulse, contempt. It's going to be like a shame. People going to be looking at you like in disgust. Because you're going to be seeing somebody with worms all on them and being burnt on fire. It's going to be literal hell for them. But that's what they was doing in the valley of Gehenna to their own kid. That's what some celebrities, they ain't burning their kids, so to speak, but they sacrificing their kid for power and for fortune in this country. So we're going to read all the way to verse 12 now. 2 Kings 23, verse 12. We're gonna go to 11. And he took away the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the sun. So they were dedicating the horses to the sun. So we finding out what these people were doing in their wickedness, our people, before Josiah was ruling. At the entering in of the house of the Lord, by the chamber of Nathan Melech, the chamberlain. What chamberlain is? To castrate a eunuch. Remember the word chamberlain and eunuch. Y'all remember we were talking about eunuch? So by the Nathan Melech, the chamberlain, which was in the suburbs, and he burnt the chariots of the sun with fire. So they had chariots. They probably had all kinds of sun symbols all on the chariot. He broke them symbols down. So if y'all ever be on some kind of excavation and y'all find some ancient artifact and they got discs and suns on it, you know what these fools will do today if they find it? Yeah, be all happy. Look what I found. It got 6-pointed stars on it and all kinds. I wonder how much this is worth. They might even hang it up in their house or something. This made me go back thousands of years. But what we supposed to do? Burn it, stomp it, beat it down, light it with fire, man. Look, man, we reading this because y'all might get big. Y'all might get it to an age, y'all might find this type of stuff, man. Don't be ignorant. Meaning don't know what you're doing. Know what this is leading back to. And the altar that were on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of the Lord, did the king beat down. So in the house of the Lord, they had altars for these false gods. And we about to find out what an altar is. Y'all, do anybody know what an altar is? What is it?
It's kind of like a wood, most of the time wood, or it could be stone, where people go to pray and worship and sacrifice.
Yeah. That's the word I was looking for. But we're going to touch on that.
I have a question. So back in the day, the house of the Lord, was it the temples?
That's about to come up too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Grove means place of worship. But I think all of these questions are about to be answered like literally in the next, because we're about to read precepts to explain all this. So the king did beat it down, and he brake them down from thence and cast the dust of them into the brook. Brook is like a stream of water, Kidron. So let's touch on these precepts. So we're going to start off in Genesis chapter 8, verse 20. Any other questions, please remember them, because I'm jumping all over the place. Genesis chapter 8, verse 20. And Noah built an altar unto the Lord, and he took of every clean beast, and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. So she says it's this wooden thing that you offer sacrifice to. Which is first, Genesis or Deuteronomy?
Genesis.
When did we read the laws of God, and which one?
Deuteronomy.
How did Noah know he had to sacrifice? How did Noah even know what an altar was? How did Noah even know what clean beast was and unclean beast? Light bulbs should be just ding, 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 just going off in y'all head right now.
Yeah, because Leviticus is after.
That all of that is after Genesis. So how did Noah know these things? Because these are a commandment. God, that means the commandments of God were out before Deuteronomy. Remember I said we were doing right, then we were doing wrong. We were doing right and wrong all the way in Genesis. So this was a time period where we was doing right. Every time we'll fall off, He don't make new laws. He just teach the same old laws all over again. Ain't that what happened to us today?
Reinforcing.
We just in a different time period. We grew up in the moon worshiping, sun worshiping, all of that. Now we getting it right. The same laws is being enforced. So this is all about altar. We learned altar is where you at that point in time we used to sacrifice animals unto the Lord. So also we're supposed to be reading Leviticus chapter 1 through 5. So the Lord taught Noah the laws way back then. He taught Adam the laws. Really. Now we're going to where Moses was taught the law. And the Lord called unto Moses and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, If any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd of the flock. That was a clean animal. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. And he shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering and he shall be accepted for him to make an atonement for him. So this is proof that they were doing animal sacrifice. But hold on, I'm looking for the word altar. They wasn't calling it. Just going back to it. But that's where they would burn it. They would do the sacrifice. Excuse me. Verse 7. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall put fire upon the altar, and lay the wood in order upon the fire. So we had clean and unclean animals that we had to sacrifice during that time, but they were sacrificing their kids to these false gods. So that's why he had to break Josiah had to break all of that stuff down. So now we're gonna read high place. We're gonna understand why. Because you asked the question, you say, well, didn't they have a place of worship? Why would they have to be in the groves or whatever, outside to worship? 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 2. First Kings chapter 3, verse 2. Only the people sacrificed in high places. A high place would be like a mountain, the top of a mountain, Mount Horeb. Well, Moses had to get the laws to be a high place. Because there were no house built until the name of the Lord until those days. So why would they sacrifice or worshiping the Lord at high places? There was no house built unto the name of the Lord until those days. So it was a time period where Solomon had to build a temple for the Lord. But before Solomon built the temple, they didn't have no temple.
Why did they go to high places? To get closer to the Lord? Possibly?
Verse 4. I'm going to just read that. And the king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there. And there was a great high place. 1,000 burnt offerings did Simon offer upon that altar. So before we had temples, indoor buildings dedicated to the Lord, we were dealing with high places. And elevation, I clicked on place. And elevation, height, high place, like top of a mountain. So, yeah, that was on, your question was on time. Now we're going to read the northern and southern kingdom, both idol worshiping at high places. Jeremiah chapter 3, start off with verse 6. We just read where we were offering sacrifices unto the Lord at high places. But as I said, we were doing good. We didn't start falling off, doing good, falling off. We're going to be doing offering sacrifices at high places to the false god. So Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 6. The Lord said also unto me in the days of Josiah the king. So Jeremiah the prophet was around when? In the days of who?
Josiah.
Ain't we reading about Josiah?
Yeah.
So when you read the book of Jeremiah, you should know what?
That Josiah was around.
That is the same time period of what book? Which book? Kings?
2 Kings.
2 Kings.
Oh.
All of that, we just see books, we just see titles of books, we don't know what time period, what dates. Now we know this is 600, around 600 something BC. Jeremiah was around the time of Josiah. So the Lord said also unto me in the days of Josiah the king, hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel have done? Y'all know what backsliding mean?
Like,
Turning away from God.
Y'all heard of somebody who backslide in church or backslide in a relationship, right?
turn your back.
Oh.
Like you trying to sneak out.
You unfaithful. You one day you here, one day you all in church, the next day you in the club. One day you all goody with your wife, the next day you cheating on her. That's backsliding. We're gonna click on backslide. Turning away. So the Lord said this unto Jeremiah, have thou seen that which backsliding Israel have done? She is gone up upon every high mountain. Remember I said the high places are what?
For sacrifice.
I said it was mountains, right?
Yeah.
So he said Israel is gone up under every high mountain, under every green tree, and there have played the harlot. What a harlot is?
A whore.
Exactly. They whoring around. That's why I use it in a relationship term. But who are we whoring around with?
Other false gods.
Remember, we supposed to be burning their stuff down. We worshiping their gods. We sacrificing our kids. We doing all this on high mountains. This is crazy, man. He said we played the harlot. We playing the whore. Sleeping around, dealing around with every god. How many gods we named? We named Baal,
Solar Victus.
Ishtar, Solar Victor. Name these modern day gods we sleeping around with. But what is the religions?
Oh.
Muslim.
The 7-day Christianity, Muslim.
Christianity, period.
Yeah, Christian. Look at all these denominations of Christianity.
Baptist, Pentecostal.
Just whoring around. Anything they got, we'll try these days. Even not even believing in any God. Atheism is the new religion now.
Oh, yeah, do that.
So I'm supposed to be reading what?
14.
And I said after she came, and I said after she had done all these things, turn thou unto me. But she returned not. And the treacherous sister Judah saw it. So he was talking about, when he said Israel, who he was talking about. He said Israel did it, and her backsliding sister Judah saw it. So Israel was the northern kingdom. Judah was the what?
Southern kingdom.
So who did it first?
The northern kingdom.
Israel, which would be the northern kingdom. So he said he called them back. Northern kingdom come back and keep the law, but they did what?
Turned away.
They turned out, I'm good. That's how it is to this day when we call our brothers and sisters back. We try to show them, thus say the Lord. And they say, I'm good. And then her sister Judah saw it. Who was Judah?
The Southern kingdom.
The southern kingdom, Benjamin, Judah, and Levi saw it. And I saw when, verse 8, and I saw when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I put her away and given her a bill of divorce. So he's comparing this to what?
A relationship.
Yeah, a relationship.
Oh.
Like you cheated on me, I put her away. Man, I ain't dealing with her more. I gave her a bill of divorce. What is divorce?
You're done with it?
Yeah, that's it. What happened to the kingdom of Israel? The northern kingdom. He gave them a bill of divorce first, right? Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. So it's like you seeing what happened to the big sister for doing wrong. Imagine you had a big brother, you see him doing wrong. Mama say, I ain't dealing with you no more. Get out of my house. You gonna do the same thing? That's what meaning the southern kingdom did the same thing. We was some idiots, man. And we still doing this type of stuff. Not us per se. We used to. But the ones that don't want to do right and want to do all this stuff, they still doing this today. They still playing the harlot. So the Lord, remember, he gave us a bill of divorce. We were no longer called Israelites. We were called what?
Black people, African Americans.
Start with a G. Gentile.
Oh.
That's why we were no longer Israelites no more. We were Gentile.
Oh, I never knew that.
That's why the nations rule over us, because he ain't our savior no more. He ain't our power no more. He said, you want to go play the harlot? You want to go run up under them other nations and serve their gods? Bye. Have all the Easter you want. Have all the Christmas you want. Have all the 4th of July you want. But when they kick you in the butt, when you die in the street because of police brutality, when you the first, last high, first five, when you got all the diseases, when you always at the bottom, don't cry to me. Because I gave you a what? A bill of divorce. So thank God for grace and what?
Mercy.
Because he's now doing what?
Sure.
He's now letting us back in. A bill of divorce is a bill of divorce. He ain't got to take us back. He just said, man, I've been through with y'all a long time ago. I've been calling you to do what's right. It's like a relationship. If you know somebody cheating on you and you're like, look, all you gotta do is just stop cheating on me. I'll let you come home. We can work this out for the family. But the person that's cheating on you, I'm good. I'm gonna sleep around with everybody. That's how we was to the Lord. Slept around with everybody. And the Lord loved us so much, he still he still give us another chance. But do we deserve another chance? Nah. Like we literally slept around with everything under the sun.
We still on.
And then want to cry and talk about the Lord ain't fair. Or it ain't right what we got to go through. Yeah, it is right. That's how loving and kind the Lord is. He ain't got to be there. So, verse 9. And it came to pass through the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stocks. The stocks, we already talked about wood and stone, the gods of wood and stone. Dealing with them false gods. And yet for all this, her treacherous sister Judah had not turned unto me with her whole heart, but fendingly said to the Lord, and the Lord said unto me, the backsliding Israel have justified herself more than treacherous Judah. So go and proclaim these words toward the north. This is what the Lord telling Jeremiah, the prophet. Say these words. Return, thou backsliding Israel, saith the Lord, and I will not cause my anger to fall upon you. For I am merciful, said the Lord, and I will not keep anger forever. So the only thing the Lord wants you to do is what? What he said?
Yeah.
Return unto me. Meaning what? Follow his laws, man. Do what's right. Quit worshiping all of the false gods. The God of love, fertility, sex, wealth. Remember we read all that was under just Ishtar. He said, I ain't going to keep my anger forever. We like that with our kids. We be mad as hell with him. I don't talk to Corn for a while sometimes. But then all I want him to do what?
Just do that.
Do what's right. Return unto me. Follow the ways of the Lord, man. My anger ain't going to be forever. 13. Only acknowledge thine iniquity. What is iniquity?
Sin.
Only acknowledge your sins, your wrongdoing. Acknowledge them. Quit playing stupid.
That's a forgiveness.
Like she said, I don't know if y'all heard her, she said, ask for forgiveness. So only acknowledge thine iniquity, and thou hast transgressed against the Lord thy God, and have scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree, and have not obeyed my voice, said the Lord. But confess your sins, confess your wrongdoing, and do what's right. 14. I'm supposed to be reading 16, you said?
Number 14. That's the last one.
14. Turn, O backsliding Israel, said the Lord, for I am married unto who?
You.
Who the Lord married to?
Israel.
Israel. Now you see why we go through what we go through and ain't nobody else got to go through it. It should make sense, man. The Lord is married to us. That's why when he say When he come back, he looking for a church with not a spot or blemish. He say he looking for a groom. We're the groom. The world ain't the groom. Israel is the groom. I mean the bride, excuse me. I don't know. I ain't telling them about marriage. The Lord is the groom. We're the bride. We're married to the Lord. Like it's us and the Lord forever.
And he's the boss. That's what
He's the man in the relationship, meaning he calls the shots. Y'all ought to be happy, man. That's what the Lord loves you. We the ones in the wrong. He ain't the one in the wrong. So for I am married unto you, and I will take you, one of a city, two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion.
Can you click on Zion?
Y'all know what that is.
Mount Zion.
Jerusalem, pretty much.
Oh.
Permanent cap.
It's a mountain in Jerusalem.
But this is future prophecy. When we come back to the Lord, how many gonna come back to the Lord? One of a what?
Third. Oh.
1/3.
One of a what?
City.
One of a city. Two of
One Israelite of a town might get made. Why?
Because we're not following the law.
Exactly. Two of a family. Meaning out of all the Johnsons, out of all the Scotts, whatever your last name is, it may be your intermediate family, it may be your extended family. But it may be just two of y'all keeping the laws. And I will bring you into the Holy Land. So it's gonna be a lot of us, but you might not never even know these people. It's scary, y'all. But it is what it is. So the northern and southern kingdom was idol worshiping, backsliding. So we're gonna continue on. 2 Kings
Just listening on that fast.
23. What did we stop at?
We stopped at on 12.
You read 12?
Well, I don't know.
Alright. So we're gonna read till we get to 17.
them. 16. Oh.
I'm gonna read 16 and 17 and we're gonna talk about it. So verse 13. So y'all know what the high place, what the high place mean?
Like the mountains.
The mountain.
But what were they doing at the mountains?
Sacrifice.
But what they were supposed to be doing right, sacrificing, right? But we started backsliding on the high mountains. So at the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the Mount of Corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel had built for who?
Ashtoreth.
Y'all remember Asherah?
Goddess of love.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
The abomination of the Zidonians, and for Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites. Who was Chemosh? The god of who? Moabites. Moab. That's another, all of these people were all the people that were in the land before we got there. And these were the gods that they were dealing with. But remember he said utterly destroy them, and we didn't. And he told them to burn down. We read the verse where he said we get in the land to burn down all this stuff, but we didn't.
Oh yeah, didn't they bring back the king?
Yeah. But earlier today we read down we were supposed to tear down their altars and their images and all that. Even King Solomon, he did what? He had built something for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Zidonians. So Solomon got to dealing with all those women from other nations. All those women from other nations served false gods. So he was trying to please these women. So he started building places of worship for their false gods in the Holy Land. And for Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites. And for Milcom, the abomination of the children of Ammon. Let's click on Milcom. The national idol of the Ammonites. If y'all click on this, man, you'll see so much stuff tied into the modern day worship we do, man. We just ain't got time to spend 10 minutes on each God that name. Because the Bible is so, it gives you so much information. Like you gotta be a fool to be still tied into this stuff. So did the king defile? He defiled himself by that. So Josiah, verse 14, he break in pieces the images and cut down the groves and filled their places with the bones of men. So he wasn't playing. He ain't leaving them false god stuff Solomon was dealing with. And he left in their places the bones of men. Moreover, the altar that was at Bethel and the high place which Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. Remember, Jeroboam was a king too. It says the name of what? Look up, y'all.
Israelites.
2 Israelite kings. So Jeroboam, remember we had kings that were doing right, doing good, right good. So he said this wicked man had an altar in Bethel, and he made Israel to sin. Had made both that altar and that high place, he break down and burnt the high place and stamped it to small powder and burned the grove. Because we read in chapter 22 of 2 Kings, it just said Josiah did all the things that was right. And it said he read the book of the law. And now we find out exactly what he did for the Lord say he was a righteous man. He was on a spree. He was sending people, hey, what is this? Burn that down. Hey, what is that? Burn that. Stomp that down. In the powder. He ain't leaving nothing around. But this is King Solomon made this. I don't give a damn who made this. This is for idol worship. Burn it down. Somebody gonna say, but this is grandma loved this statue. Such and such loved this artifact. Look, man, stomp that down. And 16. And as Josiah turned himself, he spied the sculptures that were there in the mount. What is a sculpture? Sepulchre, excuse me. A grave. So he went and started looking in the grave. Because why?
Because they buried their
What do people do today at graves?
they put their jewelry and
Put all kind of stuff that they quote unquote love in there. So he spied in the graves that were there in the mount and sent and took the bones out of the sepulchres and burned them upon the altar and polluted it, according to the word of the Lord which the man of God proclaimed, who proclaimed these words. So he took bones that were in graves and burnt them upon the altar that they were dealing with and polluted that altar. And it said, according to the word of the Lord, which the man of God proclaimed. So if a man of God will proclaim me,
like to tell people.
we're going to read who, because they said somebody told him to do it. We about to read what somebody told him to take the bones out of the grave. So where is that at? 1 Kings chapter 13. Let me read it one more time so it can sit in your brain. So he went to the graves at the mountain. He took the bones out of the sepulchres and burned them on the altar and polluted it, according to the word of the Lord, which the man of God proclaimed. The man of God proclaimed. 1 Kings chapter 13, 1 through 6. Remember, we read 2 Kings. We're going back to 1 Kings. And behold, there came a man of God. Remember he said, like the man of God proclaimed, right? It starts off, and behold, there came a man of God out of Judah by the word of the Lord unto Bethel. And Jeroboam Remember they said that an evil man named Jeroboam had them sinning. So we reading now the time period of Jeroboam. So it said that Jeroboam stood by the altar to burn incense. He was wicked, y'all. And he cried against the altar. So this man of Judah, a man of God out of Judah, he cried against the altar in the word of the Lord and said, O altar, altar, thus said the Lord, behold, a child shall be born unto the house of David, Josiah by name. See, man, they lived in a time period where they'll tell you stuff before it even happened. That's how they did with Christ. There shall be a son, and his name shall be Savior. So this is a prophet. Out of where? What tribe this prophet was from? Judah. He said, hey, they're going to be a child by the name of Josiah. And upon these shall he offer the priests of the high places that burn incense upon them. And men's bones shall be burnt upon thee. So Josiah came and fulfilled that prophecy. Jeroboam was sacrificing in his altar, doing all this stuff. He said, hey, y'all, this prophet is saying y'all bones gonna be on the same altar for doing this wicked stuff. And to say I ain't lying, I'm gonna give you the name of this dude that's gonna do it. And Lord behold, in the 2 Kings, here comes Josiah doing exactly what the man said. Supposed to be reading what? 6. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, this is the sign which the Lord has spoken. Behold, the altar shall be rent, meaning it shall be broken, and the ashes that are upon it shall be poured out. And that's what Josiah did. And it came to pass when King Jeroboam heard the saying of the man of God, which had cried against the altar in Bethel, he put forth his hand from the altar, saying, lay hold of him. Somebody say, lay hold of him. What that mean?
Let him go.
Lay hold
of
him.
Take him, like.
Get him. Because who is Jeroboam?
The
evil
king.
He the king. And this dude, he loves sacrificing on these altars. This man telling you all y'all bones that's doing this, y'all bones gonna be on this altar. Y'all gonna be burnt up and all this kind of stuff, broken down. So he a wicked king. He ain't repent. He like, man, get him. What you think he gonna do to him?
Kill him.
He gonna try to kill him. So he said, lay hold of him. And his hand which he put forth against him dried up. Let me put that and read that again. That same hand that he said get him with, it dried up. So whose side the Lord on? Man, if your hand start withering away instantly, so that he could not pull it in again to him. The altar also was rent, and the ashes poured out from the altar, according to the sign which the man of God had given by the word of the Lord. So, man, when you dealing with a prophet, the Lord don't play.
So God gave that man that prophecy even though he was evil?
Josiah. No. The man of Judah is the one telling Josiah what's going. Not Josiah. Jeroboam, what's going to happen since y'all doing all this evil worship. So the evil king got mad and told his workers to go get that man of Judah that's saying all this. But as soon as he stretched his hand out, his hands dried up instantly. So let's see what this king gonna say. And the king answered and said unto the man of God, entreat me now the face of the Lord thy God, and pray for me, that my hand may be restored me again. Didn't you just tell him to kill me? Or kill him? Now he gotta do what?
Repent.
Hey, pray. Hey,
Now he's gotta beg
pray.
for it. Yeah.
Hey, pray. Pray the Lord fix my hand. Now you won't pray. And that's how it is sometimes. You tell people what's wrong. The wrong hit them. They ain't won't listen to you at first. Now the wrong hit them, and now they gonna become running to you for help, or running for more answers or whatever. All he had to do was repent, turn back, quit backsliding like we read. So he said, pray for me that my hand be restored me again. And the man of God besought the Lord, and the king's hand was restored him again, and it became as it was before.
I know a man like that. Every time he gets sick, he asks for us to pray for him.
Oh, yes.
Look, don't want to keep none of the. We all know people like that. They don't realize what they doing. For example, the storm. Why is the storms coming down destroying people?
Because we're doing wickedness.
They not keeping the laws. But guess what happened? What was the first thing they do?
Want to pray.
Pray for us down here. Running to us fast, running to people they know that's keeping the law. Pray for us. We pray for them still, but before you pray, you need to have a heart-to-heart with them. It may hurt their feelings. Look, man, y'all got to start keeping these laws, man. Y'all got to take the Lord more serious. I can't, look, man, I can't save you. I can pray for you. But if the Lord's will going to be done, the Lord's will going to be done. You the problem. You can stop the storms. You can make your own life better by keeping the laws, man. So quit backsliding, Israel. But the point is, Josiah, the man of the Lord, gave them the prophecy of who gonna put who bones on here for doing all of this altar, sacrificing on this altar unto wickedness. So we're gonna keep reading down to verse 17, 2 Kings 23. We're gonna read in it. And Josiah turned himself, he spied the sepulchres that were in the mount, and he took the bones out of the sepulchres. Remember that man of God said he gonna take y'all bones and put them on, and he burnt them upon the altar and polluted it, according to the word of the Lord which the man of God proclaimed, who could proclaim these words. So good thing we here together, we learning together. Because we know what precept. Because we all be reading this stuff at home by yourself. You may not know you got to jump back to 1 King to even find out what this, who is the man of God proclaimed. Do your Bible got that precept?
Where were we just at?
16. 2 Kings 23:16.
No, not for that one.
See, they sleeping on that.
They are.
So verse 17, then he said, what title is that I see? And the men of the city told him, it is the sepulchre of the man of God. Who's the man of God?
Josiah?
What we read in 1 Kings was the man of God?
Well, they didn't say his name.
They didn't say his name, but what did the man of God do?
He was a prophet.
He was a prophet. So they get to this grave and they say, who is this grave for? He said it's the grave of the man of God. Oh, it's getting good, right? Which came from Judah. Didn't they say he came from Judah? And proclaimed these things that thou hast done against the altar of Bethel. And he said, Josiah said, what? Let him alone. Let no man move his bones. What he did to the other graves he found in them. The other bones.
He destroyed them.
He burnt them on the altar because they was doing what?
Sacrifice.
Doing that wicked sacrifice. But the man of God, he know he wasn't with that, right? Don't touch his bones. Leave them bones in that grave. Man, Josiah, boy, he wasn't playing. He was smart. He wasn't leaving. He wasn't cutting no slack, y'all. They would hate Josiah this day. They like, man, this dude, why don't he just let us keep Easter in peace? Josiah would be slapping fools up, just breaking Christmas trees in half, lighting everything on fire.
Tearing down crosses.
They would hate Josiah, man. But look, we gonna be some Josiahs in here. But we gonna do it with what?
With the word?
With the word. We gonna do it with the word. We gonna break their minds up. They might hate you. They gonna start hating you. Because you ain't gonna let them be in peace. You're gonna be, hey, you know what you're doing goes back as Phoenician goddess Ishtar. You know Sol Invictus is on March the 7th, 3/21, said this day Sunday gonna be the day of rest, right? You know that ain't nowhere in the Bible. So you literally tearing down stuff without even having to touch anything. You know Constantine pushed that declared Sunday as that was the 3/21 one. But Sol Invictus mean what?
The
It means
What?
no, it's
Unseat. Unconquered.
Sun,
Unconquered. S-U-N. They done flipped it to what? S what? S-O-N. We gonna be historians in here, man. If y'all know history, if you growing up ain't like history, you gonna like it today. Or you gonna know it at least. You ain't gotta like it.
And a way to flip that is because soul is like Latin for sun.
Mm-hmm. That's the soul in it. So that's why when you see paintings of that white Christ, what do you see around his head?
Sun.
There's those sun rays, right? That's really who?
Oh, yes.
That's really Sol Invictus. That's really Constantine. That's really who you said? Caesar Borgia. It's really all these white people. It ain't got nothing to do with Christ. We read about December 25th is the birthday of who?
Sol Invictus.
It's Sol Invictus. One of them. See how they been trying to flip our real Messiah into their pagan worship, man. So we doing a recap, man. We making sure y'all should have a lot y'all that learned today picked up on. So what was that? 17. So he said, let him alone. Do not move his bones. So they let his bones alone with the bones of the prophet that came out of Samaria. Supposed to be reading. Yeah, we can just read on down to the end. And all the houses also of the high places. What is a high place again?
Wicked Sabbath.
Mountains, but it was made for what?
The temple.
Worship because what?
Sacrifice.
Because of what though?
the houses weren't built.
Houses wasn't built yet. I'm getting all this, I'm saying all this over again because when y'all read y'all Bible at home, we all ain't gonna be together to you remember this, you remember that, and come together like that. Cause you just gonna be reading the high place. It ain't gonna have no place for you to remember what a high place is for, and it means mountain, and we learning as we go. So 19, and all the houses also of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which the kings of Israel had made to provoke the Lord to anger. So all these places of worship in Samaria, Josiah took away. And he did to them according to all the acts that he done in Bethel. We read what they did in Bethel. And he slew, what slew means?
Killed.
He killed all the priests of the high places that were upon the altars, and burned men's bones upon them, and returned Jerusalem. So he was killing folks too. So they would hate him today, man. Josiah ain't, look, he did this for us, right?
Yeah.
So we wouldn't have wickedness spread amongst our people. He wasn't just killing people just to kill people. And the king commanded all the people, saying what?
Keep the Passover.
Keep the Passover unto the Lord your God. And it is written in the book of this covenant. So it was around the time of the Passover. So he like, hey, we're going to keep this Passover. What Passover turned in today in your Bible, in the New Testament?
Easter.
The word Easter is in there. But if you click on it, it says Passover. So if you ever see the word Easter in your New Testament, click on it. It's going to say Passover, because I don't want y'all to get confused and coming back later saying, well, see, Easter is right there. We can keep Easter. Now it's Passover. So he said, now we know what time of the year Josiah was doing all this stuff. It was during the time of Passover. So he said, keep the Passover, 22. Surely there was not holding such a Passover from the days of the judges that judged Israel, nor in all the days of the kings of Israel, nor of the kings of Judah. So they said there wasn't a Passover like this. Meaning everybody was keeping the Passover. It was a joyous feast. He had the top of the line and everything. He did it exactly how the Lord wanted to do. He said there wasn't a Passover like this in Judges and Kings of Israel and in Kings of Judah. But in the 18th year of King Josiah, he started at when he was 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he said in the 18th year of his kingdom.
26.
26. So when he was 26 years old, this Passover was holding to the Lord in Jerusalem. So now we know what years it was. We know what time of the year it was. And now we know how old he was. So he was a 26-year-old in this spirit here. These modern day brothers, man, they 26, they ain't in that type of mind frame.
Imagine a 26-year-old going and killing the priest and
I'm laughing, but man, that brother was tough, man. Verse 24. Moreover, the workers with familiar spirits, people that's dealing with, remember we said, raise up my grandmama from the grave, and that's a worker of a familiar spirit, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and Jerusalem, did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law, which were written in the book of Hilkiah, that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord, which would be what?
Jerusalem.
No, the book that he found in the house of the Lord. What is that book today?
The Bible.
Bible. And like unto him, meaning like Josiah, there was no king before him that turned to the Lord with all his heart and with all his soul and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses. Neither after him arose there any like him. So Josiah was what?
the best.
He was righteous, man. He was on point. They said there wasn't no king like him before him and wasn't no king after him. That brother was on point, y'all. We got Christ as our role model to be on point. We got brothers like Josiah should be a role model to be on point. We got brothers like Moses that was on point. The point is, just letting you know what kind of level he was on. I'm going to read 25 again. And like unto him, Josiah, there was no king before him that turned to the Lord with all his heart and with all his soul and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses. Neither after him arose there any like him. It was like a peak period as far as the king. Notwithstanding, the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal. So he said, even though he was on point like that, Judah still had to catch it, because they wasn't right. Y'all, you seen all them false gods they was dealing with. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah out of my sight, as I removed Israel. Who was Israel?
The northern.
Say it again.
The northern kingdom.
So he said, I'm removing them I removed them out the land already. He said, now I'm going to remove Judah out of my sight. The bill of divorce. And I will cast off this city, Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I said, my name shall be there. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? What is the books of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah?
Bible. The Torah.
Look.
All together.
Second what? First Chronicles, Second Chronicles. That's where we at right now. So you say, hey, there's some more stuff that you can find in Second Chronicles. So it's a lot. We just but most of it all is repeating itself. But we're gonna read 2 Chronicles 35:19, and because that's gonna touch on the death of Josiah. We don't need to read what we already just finished reading. See, look where 35 start off with. 2 Chronicles.
In the 18th.
It says Josiah kept the Passover, so we just read all of that. And it give you more information on how he prepared the Passover. So all the Jeremiah, 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles, all of that is tied in together. Then it say, we read that in the 18th year of the reign of Josiah was this Passover. After all this, when Josiah had prepared the temple, Necho, king of Egypt, came up to fight against Carchemish by Euphrates, and Josiah went out against him. So after that, which 2 Kings didn't talk about, the king of Egypt came to, because remember he said, the Lord said he gonna do what to Judah? Remove them, right? Get them out of the land. So now Egypt coming up to fight against them. They coming to move us out of the land. But he sent the king of Egypt, Pharaoh of Egypt, he sent ambassadors to him, to Josiah, saying, "What have I to do with thee, thou king of Judah? I come not against thee this day. I ain't coming to fight you, Josiah, because I ain't got no problem with you. But against the house wherewith I have war." Meaning, I'm coming to take all your people, but you've been keeping the law. I ain't got no problem with you. For God commanded me to make haste, forbear thee from meddling with God, who is with me, that he destroy thee not. So the king of Egypt got the word from the Most High. Because we just read, he said, "Go, I'm going to remove them." He basically said, "Josiah, move out the way. I ain't got nothing to do with you. The Lord told me to take all your people away. So please don't go against God, because you're going to die too, because the Lord with me. The Lord commanded me." It's like to this day. White people ruling over us, why?
Because God commanded.
The Lord commanded. We did wrong. We got to suffer. But guess what some of us want to do right now? Rise up and try to take on what God he done gave them the power to do. You gonna mess around and die. Just like who tried to save us from the powers of the wicked? Martin Luther King, Malcolm. What's the movie they had? The guy.
Yes, with the slaves.
Yeah, what's his name? Nat Turner. Nat Turner tried to lead a rebellion to free us all. Man, we did wrong. We got to do what first, and then we'll be free? Repent, and after repent, do what?
Keep his commandments.
Exactly, keep the law. And then the Messiah gonna save us from our estate. But the Lord the one put us, you fighting against God, not even realizing you fighting against God. So the king of Egypt just basically telling you straight to his face, "Look, man, the Lord giving me power to take y'all away. He wants y'all out of here." Nevertheless, Josiah would not turn his face from him, but disguised himself that he might fight with him, and not hearken not unto the words of Necho from the mouth of God, and came to fight in the valley of Megiddo. That's how much he loved his people. He like, "Look, I can't just sit back and watch all y'all go into slavery. I'm gonna try to fight and help y'all." But he don't know. He fighting against the hand of God. And the archers shot. What is an archer?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the person that's shooting arrows. And the archers shot at King Josiah. And the king said to his servants, "Have me away, for I am sore." Basically, get me out of here. I've been hit. His servants therefore took him out of the chariot and put him in the second chariot. He had. Well, I'm supposed to be reading 27. Yeah, this is everything. And they brought him to Jerusalem and he died. But remember the prophecy of Josiah that he gonna die because of what?
Because they were wicked.
But remember, not today, but what you started off saying with earlier.
Which was for them.
Exactly, because he didn't want to see the destruction that was coming. So he didn't see when Jerusalem got ransacked by the other nations and how all his people went into slavery and all that. He got hit with an arrow, died, chilled in his grave. And then the destruction came.
So the prophecy
Didn't
was
God
fulfilled.
didn't God tell Josiah this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But the point is, he didn't go, because he could have went into slavery. You'd rather die and sit in your grave and wait on the Christ return to put you in a higher state than be a slave for these people. And to be tortured and to watch kids being taken away and kids being robbed, murdered, and women getting raped, and it's chaos. So he died and was buried in one of the sepulchres, that's the graves of his fathers. Remember, we always talk about that, when you die, you're going to be around your father. And all Judah and Jerusalem mourned for Josiah. And Jeremiah lamented for Josiah. Remember I said Jeremiah was all in the same time period? And all the singing men and the singing women spake of Josiah in their lamentations to this day. What is the singing men and singing women? Ain't we singers and rappers and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. So they were making songs and they would always, don't they do that now for people today? Mm-hmm. Like the Tupacs and they make songs, what the R.I.P. songs we miss. We always love you, Big Papa, but we had righteous songs, even though they was sinning and all that type of stuff. So they were making songs for Josiah in their lamentations to this day, and made them an ordinance in Israel. So they made it like a custom that you gotta uplift Josiah. And behold, they are written in the Lamentations. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and his goodness, according to which was written in the law of the Lord, and his deeds, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. What we were reading before this? 2 Kings, right? Mm-hmm. So he's telling you, hey, if y'all want to see his deeds, first and last, they're written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. So he's just telling y'all if y'all wanted more information on Josiah, and that's what we would read. So we got two more things. Now Josiah's son is about to take over. We got to go where to read about his sons? Jeremiah. See, it ain't gonna be no map. The Bible ain't lined out. You gonna have to jump here, jump there. So Jeremiah chapter 22. (11 through 19). So, 19. For thus said the Lord touching Shallum, the son of Josiah, king of Judah. So what was Josiah's son name?
Shalom.
You see what the...
Shalom.
And look how you said it. Shalom. Maybe another version of Shalom. Let me click on this.
Shalom means peace.
Nah, it say reward, recompense. The son of Josiah, king of Judah, which reigned instead of Josiah, his father. So that's proof this son was the one that came after Josiah, which went forth out of this place. He shall not return thither anymore. So this is what the Lord said about him. He said he ain't gonna return no more. But he shall die in the place whether they led him captive, and shall see this land no more. So when that king took over, they took them into captivity. So they took that Josiah's son and brought him into slavery. And he shall see the land. What land he ain't gonna see no more? Jerusalem, no more.
And we read that when it said that Josiah wouldn't suffer, but his sons will.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's in the, we didn't read that today.
That was the last time.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a few weeks ago.
So Jeremiah, you got to read Jeremiah to read that prophecy being fulfilled. Do they got that on your book on the side?
For Jeremiah,
Yeah.
it has the first Kings and the Deuteronomy and the Isaiah.
Mm. So it says, verse 13. What woe mean?
Destruction.
It means like
Oh.
watch out. Or listen up.
Destruction. Let's click on it. Expressing grief. Woe unto him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong. So he's saying this why he ain't gonna see it no more? Because he built his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers, his rooms by wrong. He's gonna expound on it a little more. That useth his neighbor's service without wages, and giving him not for his work. So that king wasn't a righteous king, right? He making people work for him and paying them. That said, I will build me a wide house and large chambers, and cutting him out windows, and it's sealed with cedar and painted with vermilion. So he's saying, I'm gonna build me a wide house and large rooms and have the finest stuff in there. But is that should be the thoughts of a leader?
No. A leader should help out.
What this should remind you of?
Presidency.
Yeah, the White House.
On a religious scale.
All pastors.
Exactly. Not all pastors, don't get me wrong, because I don't know the mindset of all of them. But the ones that we see on TV, the Joel Osteens and them, what he built?
They all have
How much his house is worth?
$2 million.
A $10 million house. Why in the heck would a pastor need a $10 million house, man? One house. It sounds like to me somebody had their mind on some money and not on the people. 15. Shalt thou reign because thou closest thyself in cedar? Did not thy father, who was his father?
Josiah.
Did not Josiah eat and drink and do judgment and justice? And then it was well with him? So didn't your daddy do the right thing and everything was good with him? Why you busy worrying about how I'm making you a big house and all this wickedness and stuff? Your mind ain't on the right. He judged the cause of the poor and needy. Who was the he?
Who's the what?
Who?
God.
He talking about, did not thy father eat and drink and do judgments and justice, and then it was well with him? Who was Shalom's father?
Josiah.
And didn't Josiah judge the cause of the poor and needy? That's what he's saying. Then it went well with him? Was not this to know me, said the Lord? So Jeremiah the prophet is getting on Shalom. He like, wasn't your daddy a righteous man doing all this good, and then all you worry about is big houses and the finer thing. Supposed to be reading to 19. But thine eyes, meaning his son's eyes, and thine heart are not but for thy covetousness. So all you doing is wanting things, coveting this stuff. And to shed innocent blood, and for oppression, and for violence to do it. So you ain't righteous, man. Therefore thus said the Lord concerning Joachim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah. So Joachim is the son of Josiah also. He's saying this is what's going to happen to you. they shall not lament for him. What lament mean?
Like more.
Exactly. It says it right there. They ain't gonna mourn for you. Who is the they?
Israel?
Yeah, we ain't gonna mourn for you. Saying, oh my brother, or our sister. They shall not lament for him. Saying, oh Lord, or oh his glory. He shall be buried with the burial of an ass, drawn and cast forth beyond the gates of Jerusalem. So you're gonna die, it ain't gonna be no, because remember when Israel died and they had to go from Egypt back to, I'm talking about Jacob, the father of the 12 sons. When he died, remember they had that long procession?
Oh, yeah.
And the king of Egypt brought all his best of things to him, and it ain't gonna be one of them type of burials. When Josiah died, they had men singers, women singers. They had an ordinance for him to remember his death and all of that. He said, ain't gonna be no crime for you, because look how you treated the people. Look what you did, man. All you was just sitting up in that big house living it up. And to this day, if y'all know somebody who's quote unquote one of our leaders who ain't did nothing for the people, don't y'all be wasting y'all tears on them people. People on TV ain't never did nothing for y'all, man, but they want to make us act like this person was so righteous or holy. Y'all know, I don't gotta put no name out there. Now the ones who did do stuff for the people, that's a different story. I'm talking about the ones that just celebrities. The only reason why y'all like them because they got the finer things in life. You did more for them than what they did for us. You done bought every CD that this person never came out with. But this man living in Beverly Hills with a white wife ain't donating money to the other nations' benefits and stuff. Ain't never did nothing for his own people.
For the sports star.
Yeah. Don't be crying when they die, lamenting their death. So we're going to read Jeremiah 27, 1 through 7. Josiah's wicked son. More information on it.
The same one? He had 2 sons.
Yeah, this is the second one. So in the beginning of the reign of Joachim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus saith the Lord unto me, Make thee bonds and yokes, and put them upon thy neck. So the Lord told Jeremiah, put ropes and chains around your neck, and send them to the king of Edom. Who is Edom?
Edomite.
Who is Edomite?
White people.
And to the king of Moab, and to the king of Ammon. That's really the Chinese and the Asians. Huh?
I just said the other nations.
But they are specific people, Moab and Ammon. And to the king of Tyrus, and to the king of Zidon, and by the hand of the messengers which come to Jerusalem, unto Zedekiah king of Judah, and command them to say to their masters, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Thus shall ye say to your masters, I have made the earth, the man and the beast that are upon the ground, and by my great power and by my outstretched arms have given it to whom it seemed meet unto me. So the Lord saying, hey, I give people power. I let which nation know that they can reign over what other nation. And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant. And the beasts of the field have I given him also to serve. So the Lord told Jeremiah to be in chains and saying, hey, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, it's your time to rule the world. And all nations shall what? Serve him and his sons and his sons' sons until the very time of his land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him. So Jeremiah letting the world know, hey, Nebuchadnezzar about to run the show right now. I don't think,
Don't we have more?
yeah, that's it. I was doing a slime Josiah.
We'll
George.
go to the time.
Y'all heard of Joakim Noah?
Heard
Joakim Noah, that's what that means, Joakim.
Jewish king.
Let me click on Joakim Noah. It's funny. This is so funny to me. So this guy, this basketball player, was named after Josiah's wicked son.
God.
Why did his mama name him Josiah? Why would you name him after one of the sons that's about to go into slavery? Like, people crazy, man.
Is he an Israelite?
on the,
Dad,
Huh?
is he an Israelite?
His daddy, his mama ain't, but his daddy.
I think his dad.
Y'all need.
That's his mom and dad. So his daddy, well, we crazy, man.
I wanted you to go to the timeline at
At least
Josiah.
his dad's black.
Josiah's timeline.
No, you have it on the left.
Black woman, so the child.
What?
It's gonna see if the boys knew why dates go backwards.
She asked the question.
See how he's reigned 640?
But it's going backwards.
You know why? You know what BC means?
Before Christ.
So it goes backwards all the way till 1 year.
Is he
That means 640 years before Christ. 621 years before Christ.
The son went into slavery 597 years before Christ was born.
So right now we're at 2017 years after Christ. That's right. 2017.
But this happened 597 years before Christ. So what she's saying is the closer you get to Christ's birth, the number go down. But you actually, in our time, the number get bigger.
Oh.
Yeah, I
So
remember
all
back then, I
all
used to
your
think it was
history
just
events
big.
are leading up to when Christ was born. Basically.
I used to think
But they say Christ don't exist and all that type of
big
stuff.
family.
Our time is,
We got
we
We call it BC.
Philip wants to add Job 9 and 24 is a precept for Jeremiah 27 and 5.
hold up, Jeremiah, let's read Jeremiah.
27 and 5. That's the one I think we were just there.
And commanded them to say unto their masters, thus said the Lord. Oh, hold up. You said 27 and 5?
It does, yeah. Jeremiah 27 5.
And I have made the earth and the man and the beast that are upon the ground by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and given it to whom it seemed meet and to me. So he's saying the Lord let kingdoms reign. The Lord gave that power. So we supposed to be reading what?
Job 9 and 24.
He given a precept. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the Lord let the wicked reign, and he tell what wicked kingdom gonna reign, and when it's their time. Thank you for that, brother. But the point is, the Lord gave these white people power to reign right now. Because of our wickedness, because of our rebellion. He gave us a bill of what?
Divorce.
Oh.
But he's slowly bringing us in. And we're going to reign. So I hope y'all learned something about the brother, Josiah.
Yeah.
He wasn't playing no game. Josiah was a faithful and true servant. I want to thank everybody for coming out, and shalom.